This is the Lean Builders Hoots on the Ground podcast with absolutely, positively no bullshito. Join us as we dig into exactly what lean construction is and how we can use these concepts and strategies in the field. This podcast will be different as we journey to job sites and mine the minds of lean builders, all in effort to pass forward building knowledge from those who have put their time in to learn a better way. Because that's just what lean builders do.
What's up, y'all? Adam Hoots here, the Lean Builder Podcast, Hoots on the Ground with no bullshito. And my guest today does not need an introduction. I will just simply say he is a co-author of one of my favorite books. You can see all my notes in it. Takt Planning, right? Elevating Takt Planning. I think amazing. Spencer Easton, welcome to the show. Just dive in. Tell us who you are, what makes you. I just want to meet you deeper. Who is Spencer Easton?
I'll do a joke at the very beginning. That's just who I am. Very lighthearted. I am a recovering CPM guru. Which means I was previously full of bullshito.
No mas, eh?
But yeah, I have a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on, Adam. And thank you for the Lean Builder for allowing this podcast to be spread on their platform. Really appreciate Joe and Keon and everything they've done, and you as well for the Lean Builder Nation and Hoots on the Ground. Love this podcast and everyone that's been on and listening and all that. I'm Spencer Easton, been in the construction industry for 18 years. I started as a broom sweep as a kid with a shovel in my hand. And even before that, my dad was in construction, which meant I was the hired help, the family labor. Going to job sites since I can remember. Construction was just part of it. My dad actually had one of those like old radios that he would take home, and that was before cell phones, and he would get calls in the middle of the night when there were issues and he'd have to suit up and run out, and that was just part of life. Grew up around construction, have a love-hate relationship with construction, and I'll talk about my father a bit later, but about why I have a love-hate relationship with construction. But yeah, I right out of high school, I didn't do well in high school. I got a 1.8 GPA, and I graduated with honors and an enhanced diploma in music. I would skip out on all the important classes and go to the classes that I wanted to do, which was music. And I was a percussionist and played the drums in the jazz band, drum line, which is in the marching band. Anything drum set related was like my jazz, which is funny because my little corner of like importance is being introduced to takt planning, helping spread that in construction, which is very rhythmic and beat-oriented, right?
I was literally just writing that down, asking about takt planning and rhythm and music. Yeah, dive in there real quick, would you?
I have a whole so my ideas that come into my brain of what I want to do are like scattered on my desktop, and I have a Word document that says takt and drums. And I have 5 bullet points in there. And when I first got on a call with Janosch in Germany, I have Dr. Janosch now. He's published, so his thesis is out there. He and Marco. When I first got on a call with him, he showed me like a sheet of music and started comparing it to construction. And being in construction my whole life and watching this and seeing him, I'm like, why did I not see this? Oh my gosh, there's so many comparisons. It's so good. Like, every little thing, not just like the beats, but like where there's different beats or where there's crescendos or where there's different keys or and how a symphony, like different notes are played by different people, like all these different correlations. And I was just like, oh my gosh, these time signatures and these like the treble clef and bass clef, like all these different things. I'm like, it's so the same. Like there's so many things that are the same in construction. I was sold just by that. But yeah, and I hope to have some time to be able to dive into that deeper. I haven't put a ton of brain power there, but yes, that's a whole like line of thinking. And I think there's so much more comparisons there than we think. But yeah.
Yeah, I think right now our industry is full of like heavy metal, screaming, yelling, like all kinds of crazy music, like chaos, right?
Exactly.
And I actually had an old superintendent, Mr. Perry Nicholson, who wore a neon yellow collared shirt and bib overalls every day. In fact, he only had 6 pairs. Don't ask him what he wore on laundry day. Yeah, self-proclaimed hillbilly, but a great builder. And he used to tell me all the time, Adam, building's just like classical music. You get one instrument going and then you bring another one in and make sure it's nice and fluid. And then you bring another one in and you just keep them all on beat. And it never really made sense until I read your book. I love, love, love where you're heading now. So what else? Anything deeper? Who is Spencer Easton?
I'll give you a little story that I don't think I've shared in our community yet. The first vehicle that I purchased, that I owned, was an ambulance.
Was not expecting that. What did you do with said ambulance?
So I was a junior, just finished junior year in high school, and drove from Riverton, Utah to Wichita, Kansas, because on eBay there was an $800 used ambulance for sale. And it cost me $1,200 in gas to get it home, uninsured, unlicensed. And yes, we turned on the lights, which I later discovered is the same criminal offense as impersonating an officer.
Oh my goodness.
So I didn't go to prison and I didn't get caught, but I found out later, and I quickly
statute of limitations is up, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm scotch-free. We're good.
Or do I need to edit?
I have a picture. I'll send it to you later.
Yeah, I'd love. Can I put it in the podcast?
It's a van ambulance, so yeah, I'll share it with you. It was supposed to be I was in music, right, and drums. So I was in a band, and there was actual music out there. It's not there anymore. It was on MySpace, and MySpace had a big crash in 2014 or something like that, and they lost half of their platform. I was part of the half of the platform. And that's the only place where I had the music stored. So all of my music has been erased, and big tear and all that stuff. So there you go. That was a fun story, but that was the end of my high school career, and on to construction I went. And I went around the country pushing a broom, pushing a shovel, and just manual labor, general labor. And then I turned into an earthwork kid, and I started operating. I didn't want to get in a scraper or a blade, but I was really good on a lot of the other stuff. I am great in a skid steer, and I know that's a pretty general little piece of equipment that most everyone knows how to operate, but I am like a badass in a skid steer. Oh, yeah. My dad owned a skid steer until a year before he passed away, and helped him sell his business and all of his equipment and stuff. And he was more of a civil guy. He worked for a company that did a lot of rail work, and that's where I originally started my career, just for the company that he was with, and then went the transition from earthwork into flat work and did some more concrete type work. I went with a concrete crew around the country. I actually went to Felipe Engineer's hometown, Roseville, California. I was there for 4 months and spent some time there doing a big rail yard job pretty close to his house, which is super, super funny, a small world. Okay. And I was there in California when I was sitting in, and it's super funny that me and Jason crossed paths, because this is one of his big things, like the bathroom. I was sitting in a porta-john, and we didn't have any hand sanitizer, and we didn't have any toilet paper, and I was sitting there, and I was like, it was super hot that day, and it was like a concrete pour day, and we had it running through like a 4-inch hose. It was horrible. If you've ever laid concrete and had it pumped through a hose that you have to manage, freaking sucks. Yeah. And so I was super sweaty. I was super skinny back then, and I would run every night after, and I was just super I'm done, killing my body and feeling like an animal. It's not worth $15 an hour. That was super good money for me. I was like, oh my gosh, $15 an hour. And not to say that's not good now. It's just, that's what I was doing it for. I saw the money and I ran towards it. Right? It's ooh, I see how I can make money. Go that way. And it just wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it anymore. So I decided to go back to school and use my brain instead of my muscles. And I had to eat a lot of humble pie going back to school to learn how to learn and listen. And which was really something that half of my career and life, really, most of my life up until that point, was a lot of, I want to do what I want to do. I know what's best, really childish thinking. And my mid-20s, I grew up really fast, and I made that decision. And I was like, I have to want this more. I have to want to learn, and I have to want to listen, and I have to want that more than I know what's best. So I gave that up, and it's been exponentially beneficial to me in my career and my personal life and my family life, and everything. Every aspect of my life is completely changed and better because of that decision to make that change. And yeah, that was about halfway through what my current career is right now. The first 8 to 10 years was more in the field, ended more in the like project engineer. I was an assistant superintendent, and then I started hopping more in the office and helping out more on the inside towards the later part when I was at Weber State University for construction management. I did night courses. I was doing 20 credit hours a semester and working all day in construction. And I was married and had a child. And that was not a good recipe. That was horrible. And then I went from that, once I graduated, to working 100-hour work weeks, which was a recipe for divorce, which the papers were getting filled out. They were never served, but they were getting filled out by the time I made a decision to course correct, which was gosh awful that it took to that point for me to wake up even further and say, okay, I am addicted to work. I have a problem. And sadly, that's a big thing in our industry, is that we're either avoiding home or we're addicted to work or something. And we're not talking about it. And that's what I love about this podcast, our tribe, and everyone that's out there. I love the Lean community because these are the things that we're focusing on, and it's real. And not a lot of people think that it is, but it is freaking real. And I couldn't be next to a better group of people standing shoulder to shoulder trying to improve our work environment than you and all of the great people in the Lean construction community. So anyway, that was my vomit of the mouth Spencer Easton moment. That's me in a nutshell. And there you go.
That's exactly what I was after, man. I love everything you had to say. What I find interesting is the correlation that you just put together. Like you said, you had to go back to school at Weber State. And what really made the change for you was that you learned how to listen. And you take that and you extrapolate that into the reason you left the skilled trades is because you were in not great conditions trying to be your best. And quite honestly, your environment really dictates how you can operate, if you can operate at your best. And so I think one of the things that's missing in our industry is that learning how to listen. I think too often we've got people that just expect, hey, you wrote it down and you signed this contract, you're going to do it, like, period. And I'm not listening to you with open ears and really hearing what you have to say. So maybe you can touch on that. What's the correlation there between the industry not learning how to listen versus you having learned and listened and made this positive change? Is that what we're lacking right now?
I think it's a huge part of it. I don't think there's one thing that's going to fix our freaking industry. That's the problem, is that it's such a complex issue. It's not like do this one thing and it's better, but that's a big one. It's a big one. When I was in high school and I was that band kid that stayed to himself and I was happy being by myself and I wasn't in listening mode, going from that to just asking questions and like genuinely hearing the other person and then being like, why? Tell me further. What else? What? Really digging in. And you hear these things like the younger version of me, you hear this, oh my gosh, shut up. Like slogan, like, just you get the soft skills of these things. But if you really do it, like sitting with somebody and like really digging in and really having a conversation through just like the picture of the person, and you can almost put yourselves in their shoes, you can see more. It's like going from CPM to takt, and I hate to do this little analogy, it's way more. And it's just as a communication tool, it's better. If you want to drop a mic on one thing that for sure is better, the visualization and communication of versus CPM versus takt, it's night and day. And even the CPM experts will agree to that because it's so true. And it's the same thing, like being able to like really understand someone and align and learn from them. It takes that willingness. And when I started as a scheduler at Oakland Construction, and it took, if I hadn't learned that skill, I would have quit. It took so much of that because I'd never been in commercial construction. I'd never dealt with exterior systems. I'd never done high-rise work. There was so much. I was like, I'm so unqualified to do this. Like, I don't know any of this stuff. And so if I would have come in there, like knowing anything, like I would have looked like an idiot and I wouldn't have gone anywhere. So it was like, I'm dumb. I'm your secretary. Tell me what to do. That's what it was like. And that relationship, that mentality from me, I've heard from many supers. They're like, you're the best scheduler we've ever worked with. And I don't think that's true, but I think I'm the best listener that they've ever worked with that's a scheduler. So it's like that there had that effect on our relationship. And it had nothing to do with me. It had everything to do with them being able to get across to me. And everything to I put myself on the shelf and I was like, what do we need to do? You're more of an expert. And I think that bled into even their relationships. I was working with a fellow, I'm going to name drop, Chris Ofar. He's such a great superintendent.
Nice.
He's working on the Taylorsville Temple in Utah for the LDS Church. He's the senior superintendent over that project. And he is such a stud. And we had such this killer relationship. I love doing schedule updates with him. It was like connecting with a best friend, a buddy. Like we were thick as thieves. Like it was so good. Anyway, and I could just tell like the things that I was learning in the lean community, not that I was teaching these to him, but like I could tell he was building relationships and that's what he wanted to do. So that listening where he was like, I'm not an expert like stonemason. I need to listen to him. Like he needs to tell me what we're doing and I'll help the owner know what we're doing. I'm a middleman. I'm not. And so I was like, that's the key. Like this humility of being like, I need to listen to others in order for me to be anywhere. As my relevance has way more to do with not being in the spotlight, even though he's the shiz on this project. Like he had such a humble heart. And it was such a difference working with him versus other superintendents that were the rip your hard hat off, throw it down, like scream, that son of a bitch is going to listen to me type mentality. Like it's night and day. And for the people that think it's not a big deal, it's a big deal. And I'm not an academic and I don't have the numbers on it, but it's such a difference. It makes such a difference.
Amen. When you actually listen and you find out, like you hear that next question, then people know that you care. They know that you connect. You're all in. You're there. You're in the moment, present with them. That's what it's all about, man. It's learning how to listen is not an easy gig, though.
How did you learn how to listen? Like I know for me, I just made a decision and I've done good. I've done bad. So I'm learning that like I'm not perfect at it. But like, what have you found that has helped you like listen better? What are some of your tricks and tips?
So a couple of things, and I guess I don't want to sit on your couch here, but growing up, I had to listen. My father made me listen. The old boy, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth. You should listen twice as much as you talk.
There's wisdom in that though.
Yeah, there is. There absolutely is. And I'll tell you, I guess I figured this out also at an early age. When I was trying to talk to a female, I would always have to go and listen and be very attentive in the moment to what that gal was saying so that I could keep the conversation moving, because as soon as that conversation became stale, it's like it got awkward and weird. And so you just learn how to facilitate and grow from that perspective and just being a little bit more fluid each time that you try. And again, that's probably not the best thing to say, right? Because I'm married, 3 kids, and etc. But actually,
these are the things that help lead to Brittany being in your life. This is
it did
this
actually.
is why you landed such a wonderful spouse, right?
For the last 19 years. Yeah, you're exactly right. We've been almost
That's a
20
big
years.
number. What do you guys, really quick, I know it's supposed to be featuring Spencer Easton, but not a lot of us get to hear about you. What are you guys planning for the 20th? What are you guys doing? Something fun?
I can't answer that. That's we got about 6 months still, so 8 months now.
Congratulations. That's a huge number. That's awesome.
It is. It's big time, especially in this day and age and in our business. And a lot of times, folks, unfortunately, you mentioned it, divorce was an option back in the day. We don't often talk about divorce, but we talk about death quite a bit.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, the other thing that's helped me become a better listener is I'm in the support and capability group with Jesse Hernandez, Jen Lacey, Alicia Delaney, Kirby Coates, and Sean Moran. And it's essentially, I don't know if you're familiar with Liberating Structures at all. Have you heard of Liberating Structures?
It's a book, isn't it?
There's a book out there on it. And then there's a great website. I think it's even liberatingstructures.com. But they're basically 48 different structures that people use to help facilitate meetings and get people involved and speaking up and One of them is called Troika Consulting. And this is Jesse Hernandez's trick, right? He put this group together. He taught me this. And essentially you've got, and actually I use this, I R&D'd it from him for some executive training, but you've got a coach, you've got a problem owner, and you've got an observer. So there's three roles, three people. The problem owner brings the problem to the table and talks about the problem. And the coach asks open-ended, inquisitive questions, like keeping the conversation going, keeping the subject talking, kind of like I talked about a little earlier. And what ends up happening is that problem isn't the real problem. That problem's so much deeper. And as you're asking, like you're listening, you're cueing in, you're not solutionizing, right? Because that's a big problem in our industry. It's like we don't listen to the people who are in the Porta-John having this bad experience. We just solutionize and say, oh, clean the Porta-John more. Oh. No, but how much more, right? Like you got to ask these questions to understand where we currently are and what the gap is. And so, before you know it, the problem owner ends up in a problem that's 5 miles from where they are. And I'll tell you, the amount of trust that's built in that group is unbelievable. So I would highly recommend trying it, hiring Jesse to come facilitate it. He is a fantastic facilitator when it comes to that. We call him the questionator for that reason. He puts together some fantastic, again, open-ended, inquisitive questions where he's not leading the witness, as he says, but we're just inquisitively figuring it out together. And it's okay. So in the construction industry, sometimes we've got to be in control of the answers, but it's okay not to have all the answers and admit that. And I think that's a huge point that you were trying to drive home earlier as well. So, way to go flipping this thing on me. You're pretty good at the
You
open-ended
told me not to, but
questioning.
it was just too good of a thing to hear. And so liberatingstructures.com.
Here, I'll show it to you real fast. If you're interested, I can pop it up. Is that something you want to see?
Yeah, I'm super interested. So I'm like on a learning high. So yes, I'm super interested in that 48 different structures. That's crazy.
Let me just show you it now. And I was introduced to this by Hal Maycomer in the systems thinking course we put on like 5 or 6 years ago, which we've got another one coming up. And then Brian Winningham has really taken and run with this. And so here's your list. There's 30, maybe there's 33. I'm sorry. I think there's maybe some that are being worked on right now that aren't quite liberating structures. Brian's making some too. But anyway, 1, 2, 4 all is a good one where it's a reflection exercise where you give each person 1 minute. And if you click on these, it takes you into the process and how to do it. Each person gets 1 minute, and then you ask these questions, and then you get in 2 pairs, and then the pairs of 2 will go and talk about what they learned, and then you get in a group of 4 and you talk, and so it's a good way to get everybody to participate and get everybody's opinion out there. There's 9 whys. Triz is really good. This is like what we call a pre-mortem sometimes, like how are we going to fail at this? And so that can be cool. What's some of the what, so what, now what? That's a good one. You're just literally asking those questions.
I love how it says menu and it's like a buffet of stuff, and it's not telling you do this and you'll be successful. It's like a plethora of different things, and you can tailor. Okay, I like this, and I can use it. And there's different examples. This is amazing. I love this.
Yeah.
Who put this together?
So it's an open source group of, I guess here's Keith McCandless and Henry Mankowski. And again, I don't know these folks, but I do know there's a group out there. Brian's invited me to, I think it's a Trello board that's got a bunch more information. So encourage you, reach out to Hal or Mr. Winningham if you want to go into detail there or learn more. Again, I'm somewhat of a novice at it, but they work. I'm going to tell you that right now. So let's get back to Mr. Spencer Easton, huh? I love your open-ended, inquisitive questioning and ability to listen, but this ain't about me, man. You said that earlier. It's about you, Spence. I want to hear more about, because you told us your career, right? Started as a laborer's helper back in the day, working for a family business, and became a laborer. Had a real tough experience in construction. Went back to school. You've had all these different seats in construction. You found a home in scheduling. You wrote a book on tax planning. You've done the consulting, coaching thing. What's new in Spencer Easton's life?
Super recent. I accepted a position at Mortensen Construction as a lean innovation champion,
Love
which
it.
is a first for me. I've had all field roles or project management. It was scheduling, project engineer, like assistant super, like those roles right there. And scheduling is like further away. It's still production managed, like it was still close enough. But this is the first, I mean, being with Jason at Elevate and Lean, that was a consulting role. And I think that was like the first step into this. But this is my first Lean role, like official Lean role. When I was at Oakland, the scheduling department really was the Lean construction arm of the company, which I think was a big deal, bigger than I understood at the time. And I'd like to dive into that for a second because it like ties into like this Lean journey. I think we're all on a Lean journey. When I was at Oakland and I started learning about Lean, I had actually learned about Lean Six Sigma when I was at the crane. So I was a head of logistics and dispatch for a larger crane company, and had done some process mapping and improvement for the entire company. Basically created a system for how sales guys sold jobs. We fulfilled them, and then we got paid for them. Like that whole process, I mapped it out.
All important things. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically created their system of work and rolled it out to the company. They actually still use it to this day. So that, and I love that. I was like, ooh, I really like that process improvement. And I had done some searching and researching about Lean. I knew it at the time as Lean Six Sigma, some of the different things that I had studied. So I had some like previous knowledge of it, but once I was at Oakland and I started like researching Lean, this will be funny, the first article that I read about takt planning was on the Lean Construction blog. And I was like,
shout out Dawn.
Yeah, this does not apply to construction. That's what I said.
You and every other person.
I was not listening. We all have our moments, but the thing that got me, and this is my challenge to anyone that's in either project controls, a scheduler, a planner, like if this is who you are, and you might not be listening to this podcast if that's your role, but if you've stumbled upon this podcast and you're listening, I challenge you to read 3 books. And if you have not changed your mind by the end of those 3 books in 90 days, read these 3 books in 90 days, and it will change your mind about where our industry is and where we're heading. Book number 1, The Goal.
Oh, yeah. And I got it.
This is the special edition. I just got it.
That's the comic book edition.
It is it's the graphic novel edition.
I let somebody borrow that book, and I cannot remember who it is. So if you have my comic book edition, give it back, would you? I love it.
Me and Adam have a secret love fest for Mr. Goldratt. Yeah. Such an incredible book. This is, so for you, those of you that are listening, this is the book that changed my life, my career. This is it. So I read this in 2017, the same year that I did Parade of Trades for the first time, which is semi-outlined in the book. And this right here, it's in a manufacturing setting, but think about how this applies to construction as you read it. And then the next...
So you're the second person in 2 weeks to recommend reading The Goal. Josh Kreitler, we just released an episode. That was one of his go-tos. And I asked him this same question too. Have you read It's Not Luck by Eliuhat Goldratt?
No, it's on my list because at LCI, you asked me the same question. And I'm like, no, what is that? And you're like, it's the follow-up to The Goal. I was like, I didn't think to keep going. I was just like, it's amazing. What else is out there? And he has like 8 books. Like I need to read all of them.
It gets better. Oh, Alex Rogo.
I can't wait. Like it's
especially you joining a corporation and being at this feature. Oh my gosh, you'll love it. Anyway, hit me with the next book, dude. You got me fired up.
So once you read The Goal, the next book you have to read is This Is Lean.
That's our buddy Nicholas Modig.
Modig, yes. So this right here started opening me up to, okay, Lean isn't just a slogan. It's not TPS. It's not this. It's not that. Different people think about Lean differently. And I think this one, there's a stack of like really important books to me that I always keep right here so I can do this very thing. But The Goal, read it. Then read This Is Lean, and then read The Lean Builder.
Ooh, I like
so that's book number 3. And this is super applicable to construction. So the first 2 are not. And this is I know this is detrimental to my book and some of the other books that I'm more associated with. This is the best book for construction. Right here. And I'm not just doing that because I'm on the Lean Builder podcast, but this book, this is the free version I got in the 2019 LCI.
Nice.
And this book, if I'm you listening, do the $9 version, the audiobook. It's such a good audiobook. It has some really good images in the actual book if you get it. But if you listen to this, it will sing to you if you have been in construction. If you're a builder and you're in construction and project controls or scheduling, if you read the goal, then this is Lean and the Lean Builder in that order in 90 days. You will question, what the hell have we been doing in construction and why aren't we focused on different things? I guarantee you. And if you don't, I want to promise people I'll buy the books for them. It's that big of a deal. I actually added it up the other day. It's $67.20. I bet you $67.20 that you will change your thinking about your career path, about where the industry should be headed, and that Lean, there's some magic there. It's not going to fix your problems, but if you just say, hey, we can respect, like Felipe always wears these shirts, respect for people and continuous improvement. Like he boils it down to those two things. If that's what Lean means to him, anyone out there that is against respecting people and wanting to improve, you don't belong in the workforce. Get out, please. If you can't respect people, who can't get on board with that? Who can't get on board with wanting to be better tomorrow than you were today? I'm sorry. Those are such basic concepts. And to me, that's what Lean is. So can we please just start doing that?
Doesn't seem like a big ask.
That's all we're talking about. That's it. None of this stuff. There's a lot of other cool tools that try to apply those principles. Yeah, all this great stuff out there. Love it. But at its core, respecting people and just doing better tomorrow than we did today. If we can do that, we'll be in such a better position. It doesn't mean that we'll call ourselves Lean people. If we're just doing those, let's just do that and we'll do so much better. So anyway, that's my challenge to folks that come from my background, that kind of scheduling background, and what has led me from scheduling into Lean. And I'll tie this all together. I know this is a long loop all the way back to the question of where's Spencer at, what's new with me. And that's that journey is Lean has been this new journey in this loop of I've accepted it. And now I'm a lean guy, right? I've been hired by one of the largest GCs in the United States in a Lean role. And that's a new thing for me. When I was at Oakland and I started on this journey and I read these books, and there's some other, I got to throw out Paul Akers. You're an important guy. You've actually been on webinars and co-presented with our buddy Paul Akers and some of the other folks. I'm also gonna shout out Dan Fauché. He's I love Dan, and David Umstadt. Such great folks. Lots of good people. I could throw up a ton of.
I know you got that new Love and Lean book too. Oh, there it is. Oh, and Felipe's book too. Oh man.
And shout out to Schroeder. I could not.
Oh yeah.
I would not be in the position I am without Jason Schroeder. Love me some Jason Schroeder. There's just some amazing folks out there that have been working on some amazing stuff. And when I started learning that, and Jason actually came to Oakland and was part of, he took on the scheduling department. He was in the kind of field ops director role, and I was head of scheduling at the time. And he saw that I was interested in it. And so we started dabbling in this. We got to the point with Takt where every single project at Oakland was created with a Takt plan first. And that was the master plan for every single project. I'm pretty sure they still do that, but it opened up so many avenues because as I was assigning schedulers to different projects and seeing where people would fit, I found the bright spots in our company that really wanted to try Lean, that really wanted to try these the rock stars. I spent a lot of time there with them, and I started putting on my bags again, not to work, but to join the workforce and be like, okay, what are we doing? Let's go out and 5S stuff and things like that. We did this cool thing in a Connex, and I was focused more on how do we actually improve production, not how do we just keep doing button clicks. And it brought so much joy to me to see that I was actually helping. And it wasn't like Spencer was doing great stuff. It was, we were putting resources where they needed to be in order to help the needle actually move. And we started doing less button clicks, and the scheduling department, a lot of us started doing takt planning, and we would put it on the project teams to actually schedule. And it was almost like we were putting ourselves out of a job. But at the same time, we took on a lot different responsibilities. And some companies have lean managers or lean roles to help explain things and bring to light like all these, try to help the industry change. And we took that role on too. And when I started it at Oakland, there was 3 of us, and we were the redheaded stepchildren of the company. Absolute, like in the basement corner, we didn't have good computer. We were the forgotten. They got us because there were some contractual agreements where they had to do it. And when I left, there were 18 people in the scheduling department, and the CEO said that we were the best department in the company. And it has nothing to do with me, has everything to do with we embraced lean, and it started to help the company be more efficient. It started to help trade partners make money. It started to help the owners to see what was going on. And all of that, it has way more to do with all these folks that I brought up here, all these people. It's these concepts that we hear in the lean community being applied in construction that had that outcome. And I found that when schedulers embrace lean, there's magic there. And I see that as a big problem in our industry, is that schedulers don't always see eye to eye with lean, and they're almost at opposition. And when we open up our ears and we listen, and we don't just say we're going to do it our way because we know better, there's some magic there because we don't know everything. And I am a testament to that.
Yeah, I don't think it's just schedulers though. I think it's operations in general. I think we've got a lot to learn as an industry. So take me through your decision, because Mortensen, fantastic company. I would even say they're probably one of the GCs leading the whole takt plan, or as they call it, flow scheduling. I've had the luxury or opportunity to work with some brilliant people over there. And so why Mortensen?
A couple reasons. I agree with you. They're one of the furthest along that will make the biggest impact for sure. There's some really small companies out there that have just accepted it and are just running full bore. Small. And I don't think they're out to change the industry. I think they're just looking for better solutions. I think the whole industry is just looking for better solutions. So I think everyone's a little bit more listening in today's day and age. But Mortensen was a lot different because the actual folks, I had a bunch of superintendents on interview calls with me, and they specifically were like, Spencer, I've needed someone like you. We need you here.
Yeah.
Not begging, but like,
well, you're a popular man.
More like it was Oakland and some of the other, not to badmouth Oakland or anything, but a lot of us feel like we're preaching sometimes, right? Where it's, listen, there's this thing that can help you, and we're
more time selling it than you are
selling or like preaching. And there's a lot of that, and it was very different, where they were very inquisitive and wanting, and it made me feel important because I feel like I have something to offer. So that felt good. That was a good thing. And it's not that I'm like any heavenly being with a heavenly message of tidings of good joy. I've had the opportunity to meet some people and listen and try some of the stuff that they've tried, and it works, and just excited to help others see that and just pass it along. And that's a big thing that I see that's different. Back in the day when I grew up in construction, it was a lot of hiding information, and I'm really good at what I do, and when you get there, you'll figure it out. And it's like, why don't you just help me get there faster, and we'll all get this. But it's a lot of hiding information. That's the other thing I love about the lean community, is there's way more sharing than you think. It's only half of me, like when I first started, this is bullcrap. They're way too open about this. If this was real, they'd be like hoarding this information and going off and doing it. And that's why I think a lot of people are apprehensive, because we're so open. It's a little unnerving how open people are in the lean community. But I love it too. It's needed, and that was something that really drew me in. And recently, you can't read such an amazing book like this and not open up and share a little vulnerability, especially if I'm going to talk about how we need to improve work-life balance and all this. I can't not be willing to share personal stuff. I recently had, and Adam knows this, a family issue. My son ended up in the hospital with botulism, and was a very scary moment. And I don't think I've cried harder in my life than seeing your 9-month-old son hooked up to a lot of different machines and thinking he's brain dead, and just horrible, scary position to be in. And me and my wife were all but decided on a different path. and Mortensen was still in the running. And I can't tell you how much of a godsend Mortensen has been to me in my life, because it allows me to stay at my current location with our current house, kids in the same schools and everything. And that was a huge part of that process. And you think you know what life is going to dish to you, and you never know. And not burning bridges and being a good person is so important, because I don't think I would have the opportunity with Mortensen if I hadn't been a person that, was willing to take it on the cheek sometimes, and make sure my pride didn't get in the way of me. So that was another big factor. And I didn't mean to get all soft and vulnerable right there. I think it's important. And shout out to Jen and Jess for helping us always to be willing to go there and do that. And a big thank you to them and you, Adam, and a number of people in our industry who reached out during that very dark time, scary time in my life that recently we're over the hump. He's back home. He's doing well. And so much love and prayers and appreciation from you and many of the folks that wrote these books. Obviously not Mr. Goldrat, he's passed on, but I hope that in heaven we can hook up, because I have a million questions for that man, that great man. And thank you and everybody else who showed so much support during that time. I can't tell you how much it helped both me and my wife having that support group, and I appreciate it so much.
That's what lean builders do, man. We love you. You are very much valued in the community. Your opinion, your perspective means everything, and we got your back, man. Again, that's just what lean builders do, right? We've built this bond, we built this trust where the relationship doesn't stop at, hey, great book, way to write this takt planning book. Like, thanks for teaching me takt planning. No, man, it goes outside that gate, like Jen and Jess say all the time, hashtag outside the gate, where it's okay to get some allergies from time to time. And it's okay to express emotions, to have love in our industry and care and compassion. Like, those are the things you said Felipe is talking about. That's respect for people, is when you go above and beyond. And just when you think about somebody, I had LR Whedon on here a couple weeks ago, and he said, as soon as I think about somebody, as soon as that person comes in my head, boom, just shoot him a text. Hey, brother. Hey, sister, I'm thinking about you. Hope all is well. So, man, to get a text like that out of the blue, I got one from him today, and it's just, wow, like, you made me feel like I'm important. And
Right.
you said that earlier, and you are, right? Like, you are clearly a wanted man. I know that personally from just the 4 or 5 people that I had talked to about, hey, did you hear Spencer's like looking for a new role? And yeah, because 3 other people have called me trying to get his number. I'm super happy that you landed at Mortensen. I think you're going to do lights out, like amazing things, continuing to change the industry. I guess to that note, so I want to hit you with this, and we're getting close to time, but take as much time as you need. I want to shout out some people in your life. Who's been there for you? Who made who Spencer Easton is?
If I didn't mention my dad first, I'd be lying. And this will bring
I guess he made Spencer.
Circle.
Yep.
Yeah. There's multiple. Yeah. Like I mentioned, my dad was in construction. I think a lot of us,
Civil.
we have the same kind of path where our families are, I don't know if stuck is the right word, but we have that same spirit. And it's funny, my great grandpa was part of building the Hoover Dam. So I'm very connected to iconic, important construction.
That's good genes right there, boy.
Yeah. So my dad was in construction his whole career, and he was very much a workaholic. He was very much taught me work ethic, taught me how to work hard in whatever I was doing, whatever it was, in whatever way. So that's why I think I have obsessive compulsive disorder or whatever this thing is. But, and I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast that I have a love-hate relationship with construction, because it's brought me a lot of joy, and it's taken a lot of joy away from me as well. My dad passed away pretty early, pretty young. He was not super young. He was 65, which is young in today's standards. Yeah. He was the part owner of a construction firm, and it went sour a little, like 25 years into it. It was like this weird situation, and it caused him the biggest stress in his life. He basically left it, like basically most of his career at this company and they parted ways. And you could see within a matter of months, it took years off of his life. And like, he had a panic episode and started having kidney issues and went into kidney failure. And I sat in the hospital with him for a month and a half. I didn't leave. My wife brought me clothes, and you're very well aware of all this stuff. And I've forgotten all the names in terms of everything, but going through dialysis is such a horrific experience. I have not, but seeing it's gosh awful. And
That was the worst time in my life. I didn't want to live during dialysis. If you know somebody on dialysis, you should call them, talk to them, love them.
Yes.
It's a really hard life.
I didn't know that you had kidney problems until about 2.5 months ago.
Oh yeah.
3 months ago. We had a call and you said it. I was like, what? And I was like, yeah, my dad. Anyway, long story short, my father, it was actually when I went on the trip to Germany, I got a call just before I left that my dad had gotten sick, like he had a stomach flu or some sort of flu or something. Turns out he had COVID. And I was in Washington, D.C., getting on the plane to go to Germany, overnight flight type thing, and wake up in the morning. And I landed and found out that my dad had passed away via text message.
Wow.
And it was like that. So he had battled kidney failure, basically gotten over it, hadn't got a kidney transplant, but was on the transplant list, and then contracted COVID. And it caused heart failure. There was a lot of different stuff. And it was construction that really killed my father. And so I have a love-hate relationship with construction. And so if there's anything that I do in life, it's going to be improve construction. And it's personal for me. That's a person that's extremely impacted my life, is my father, for both good and bad. And there's lots of stories there. There's so many different stories, but that's the hardest one, is that he loved work too much and it didn't love him back. And we should all think about that. And that's one thing I actually love about the goal, is that it's like, the goal is to make money. Let's make money and go home. We're not like, that's really why a company exists, is to make money and go home. But the home part is the most important. We need money in order to be with our family. That's why we're at work. And so if we're messing up our whole family dynamic, why are we in the work situation that we're in? We have to improve our work environment, because it's ruining our home environment, which is the whole reason why we go to work, is to be with to provide for our family, to provide for our wives, to provide for our husbands, to provide for our kids. That's it. Give some meaning to life. A lot of us get a lot of kicks and giggles out of doing what we do. Like, I get all that, but like, at its core, it's so that we can go home and be with our families. And that's what has to change. So like that right there, I think I would be amiss if I didn't say it was my father. I'll mention a few others just because I know it's probably not good just to land on one, but Jason Schroeder has been a huge impact and influence in my life. When he came, and I remember I had read about takt planning. I was like, no, that doesn't apply in construction, moved on. And when he came and he gave like a 1-hour presentation, in my mind, I said these words, and I've said it to him: this is not a real man's schedule. Like,
challenging the manhood of a schedule. I love it.
It's funny how the table turned. And I'm glad that I turned on my listening. I was not in listening mode. I was in, and that change came when I was forced to do something. I was like, oh yeah, my gosh, yes, there is something here. And then diving deeper and asking further and further led me on so many fun adventures across the world, across cultures, across people I never thought I'd be talking to, people I probably shouldn't be talking to, above my pay grade, like, just amazing. And it has transformed my life, just listening and being vulnerable and being open. And so Jason's been a big part of that. I would be remiss if I also didn't mention Marco and Janosch. They've been such great mentors. It's been amazing. I spent 2 years down in the Yucatan on a mission for my church. And while I was down there, you learn a lot about how much culture has an impact on you as a person when you spend some time, let alone a lot of, like, 2 years. I lived down there and was amongst just some amazing people. And now learning from two brilliant, kind, fun, awesome people from Germany. It's been amazing. I've been so grateful that they've been so gracious with their time. I feel like they're super important people, and they've just been nothing but giving with their time and knowledge and like sharing and like
Even their software, their tacting
yes,
software,
it's absolutely
right?
free, legitimate. So the book that you have is the first edition. This is the second edition.
Oh, I figured out. I had it open on my desk right here next to me. Sorry, I was actually rereading it.
So if you probably should do the comparison. So if you compare the two books, the difference really is what the Germans bring, and it's like night and day. That's their information.
New,
Like legitimately, it was
new,
like
old.
we missed out. And you also had a huge part to play in the second version of the book, and I'd like to touch on that. So
Uh-oh.
yes,
Am I in trouble?
oh, you're in big trouble.
Oh boy.
If you open up to the acknowledgments in the book, page number 8, Adam Hoots is right there. And anyone that, is watching this, if you haven't connected with Adam Hoots on LinkedIn, this
Pretty
is his
good guy, I
LinkedIn
hear.
profile.
Yeah.
So take a picture of this, of your smartphone, this QR code right here, and it'll link you to Adam Hoots. You need to be connected because he has some awesome posts on LinkedIn. But anyway, Adam, I loved your contribution with this as well. So you've had a huge impact. Something that I really loved. So you had me read a book called Systems Thinking, and it started me on like on a whole nother path of wait. There's like a whole nother level to the whole nother level. Like it's like next level crap. And one thing that really recently, there was someone from Brian Roxbury from Shield Sexton. I don't know if we should share. He didn't tell me that I could share what project it was, but he told me that we could share the video. I recently sent you a video that he showcased your KPI that is showcased in our book. I don't have the page open, but there's a KPI. Do you remember what it's called?
It's on 275 actually. It's the STA ECC. So STA is the Skilled Trades Alliance, and ECC is the Elementary Classroom Clarity Metric. Oh yeah, I firmly remember it.
Right there. This is an Adam Hoots creation, and so it's a measurement if a group of third graders can understand your takt plan, which I absolutely loved. When you said that and you brought that up, I was, oh, that's good. That's golden. If we can find a group of young children that can understand it, it means that we have mastered what we need to do so well and made it so simple, not to dumb it down, but that we know what we're about to do to the degree that anybody knows what we're about to do. There's like a special secret, there's like a secret level of like achievement right there. And we recently had somebody, Brian Roxbury, on the project that he's on, send us video proof of doing this KPI. Did we have time to share that?
I've got it here if you want to see it.
Let's do it. If we can bring it up on the screen and we can do like a live reaction, that would be so fun. This is the first documented like actual STA ECC KPI that we have. This would be amazing. And it connects you, like you have a big part in the Takt Planning Integrated Control book, and a lot of folks do. It's not just me and Jason. This is a whole industry's knowledge compiled into just an amazing plethora of information. It's amazing.
I value that, and I appreciate the comments. This is the video that you're talking about. Shout out Skilled Trades Alliance we gave them all the credit for the elementary classroom clarity. Can a third grader figure out exactly what's going on in your job by looking at your takt plan? So here we go.
So those 5 up there are where stuff's supposed to go. So that's where the bull zone's supposed to go. Restroom zones are all those purple zones, the concession zones are blue, concourse zones are green, and then the balcony zone is all of it together, but it shows where the balconies are supposed to go. And then
will you pause it really quick?
Yeah.
What a future project manager. Like,
I love it.
Like, it sounds like he's in an OAC meeting and he's talking about the plan of what they're about to go do in this phase. Like, I was like, oh my gosh. And Brian, he said, I didn't even tell him that. He's, Dad, what is this? And he said, it's the plan. He's, oh, I see. And he got his phone out and he just recorded it. He was like, oh my gosh. He was like, it was just a proud father moment. So it was like, it was crazy. Anyway, keep playing.
Yeah, and the goal of the STA metric was twofold, right? Hey, let's get young people involved, excited about construction. And then let's also clarify that, hey, we're making it simple enough to understand. I think it was, what's his name? The Albert Einstein maybe said, if you don't know a subject well enough to explain it simple, then you just don't know it.
This stuff is what you guys have already done. And then when you do June 13th on
This absolutely makes
Thursday,
my day right here.
you
I'm
guys
so
will,
freaking
like,
fired up
do,
about this.
finish drywall. And it goes all the way through until Wednesday, September 12th. It's either 11th or
Substantial
12th,
completion.
and
Yeah, yeah.
The final paint, the copying, the signage, the final click.
Okay. So my 10-year-old has never seen takt before, and he just saw this and explained how takt planning works.
He's so
So-
smart!
In a
So
minute
easy
15,
to-
by the way. Holy cow. If we can't make something out of that, then I don't know what we're going to. That's it right there. You make it simple enough. Like, can a third grader understand it? And if they can understand it, then you're really onto something. And again, to your point, like, not because our people are dumb, but because our people have a million things going on in their minds and they've got personal issues outside. Like, why are we making them flip through 90 pages to find the logic in the schedule? It's much simpler than that.
It can be much simpler than that.
Absolutely. It
If
should
we
be.
spend the time like asking the questions and not wanting to dictate, right?
Yes, listening, yeah, and documenting flow, that's everything. Man, you are an incredible person. I'm so happy to hear things are going better for you right now. I'm excited to watch you flourish at Mortensen and really continue to change the industry. Do the things that you're doing. Thank you so much for coming on. I'd love for you to just take it and run with it. One final mic drop. What do you got for us, Spence?
That's always like pressure. It's like
Yeah, I'll cut all this out.
something important.
Advice to the next generation, or
Ooh. Yeah. Don't chase money. Chase your kids.
my kids are fast.
Yup. And it'll be so much fun. It's so much funner to chase kids than chasing cash. If you just chase your kids, I'm a strong believer in the Lord will provide, or if you're a good person, it will come back to you. Whether you believe in God or you believe in karma or nature, whatever you believe in, I believe in a God, and I believe that He's given it back to us, and just so grateful. Just chase your kids instead of chasing cash.
Yeah, crosses out, baby, all the
Yeah.
time. Amen. Beautifully said. You inspire me every day. Thank you for coming on and just being your 100% authentic self. I could ask no more, and I'm grateful to have you as a friend, a colleague, a brother. I got so much love for you and what you're doing. I'm thankful and grateful for our relationship. Thank you.
Thank you. Same to you.